kill snitches here in Chicago. Because in New York, we bury them. I want eyes on him. Audio and video of everything.
No one boards a sinking ship.
If I even hear that you out on them corners hustling, I might have to kill you myself.
Trust really is hard to find in a game which is often filled with betrayal, informants, and many people who are after power. With episode 4, it does seem like we are going to see business partners questioning each other, and we all know how Tommy deals with snitches from his time in power. The graveyard is packed full of them, including his own father. It's also heating up with the Flynn organization, where we see Claudia making a move with Markovic and the Serbian network, but it does seem like the word on the street is the Flynns are on their way out. So is it time for Walter Flynn to step aside? Meanwhile, on the other side of Chicago, Tommy's having to deal with other threats from different directions, D-Mac being one of them. And one thing you do not do is test your Uncle Tommy.
Feel that? This is the game. Every fucking moment of your life, if you ain't pushing, you falling.
Now the title for episode 4 is The Devil's in the Details, and the synopsis reads, Tommy and Diamond keep dangerous secrets from each other. Jenard clashes with his crew, and Vic teams up with Claudia one last time. Meanwhile, D-Mac ends up entangled deeper in the drug game than he ever intended. Now, first things first, what do they mean by the devil's in the details? It's a saying that means the most important aspects are often hidden or found in the finer points. We also know Miguel's grandmother has previously called Tommy a white devil, so what does it mean in terms of force and the game these guys are in? As episode 4's trailer shows, it's a dangerous business. There's rival drug gangs, informants, and law enforcement all posing significant threats in different ways. Although I don't believe for one second Diamond is a snitch, but we are going to get to that in just a moment. But paying attention to these small details in terms of who you trust, how and where you store your product, how you move your money, or who you talk to can be the matter of life and death in this world. Which does bring me to the first point for episode 4, law enforcement. For law enforcement, it did take a while for their task force to get off the ground, as it always does. They need to provide compelling evidence that they had a case, and the minute 8-year-old Letitia Palmer was shot dead in the street, they had their ammunition. Now, Bobby DeFranco is a part of this joint task force, and he's the man for the job at street level. Throughout the first 3 episodes, he's proven that he knows how to get shit done and find out valuable information from the streets, which normally takes Stacey Marks' team weeks to gather. We then hear him saying he wants eyes on him, audio and video of everything. So this is where Tommy and Diamond need to be very careful about who they trust, who they speak to, where and how they conduct their day-to-day operation. This is why I did think it was important to break down that title for episode 4, The Devil's in the Detail, even for law enforcement. So going forward, we may even see some wiretaps, hidden devices that records conversations, and this isn't anything new to us. In Power, we saw one certain individual breaking every single rule there is to break. Can I see them doing the same in Chicago? Why not? How badly does Stacey Marks and Bobby DeFranco want to bring Tommy Egan down, the gangs in Chicago, including the cartel? What lengths are they willing to go to? I think we've already heard and seen a hint.
You play chess while everyone else is playing checkers. You prioritize your case over my job. Hell, our marriage, because you got your eye on being mayor.
Stacey Marks plays chess while everybody else is playing checkers, but you do get the sense that this task force may have some conflict going forward, and they may not always agree on the way they do things, which may even hinder them with their overall objective. But Tommy and Diamond will have to deal with an increase in police presence, which will make them a little more paranoid. We all know law enforcement's presence is going to be heavy after the chaos and violence, which ended in the death of Chewie, Letitia Palmer, and now also Little K. So we've got Tommy questioning Diamond, how do they deal with snitches in Chicago, because in New York, they bury them. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Tommy is jumping to conclusions about Diamond, but I can't imagine Diamond being a snake. We all know Tommy in Chicago is a lot more strategic, and he has learned a lot from various people on his journey, but you can't take away the fact that he does sometimes jump to conclusions. One example that springs to mind from Power is Hannibal and Roller. Their organization was being hit and they believed it was someone from the inside. He wanted Ghost to do Hannibal and then Roller, but it was the wrong call because they weren't the ones who was behind the hit. It was Kane and Stark. Now there could very well be a snitch within their organization. Like Bobby DeFranco said, he wants eyes and ears on Tommy and the CBI. So someone could very well be talking to law enforcement, but I don't think it's Diamond. I do think Tommy is being true to one of his characteristics that we've seen multiple times in Power. But it also does raise the question, if there is a snitch within their organization, and if it's not Diamond, then who is it? Sticking with Uncle Tommy, we've got him warning D-Mac, because he is about to make one dangerous move. He's gonna end up getting entangled deeper in the drug game than he ever intended, which is from the synopsis from episode 4. Now, we all saw what went down in episode 3. There's a lot of conflict between JP and D-Mac, which ended up with him taking the gun Tommy gave to JP at the beginning of episode 3. Now this family dynamic is quite complex. The relationships and being together as a family is new to all of them, and they're all having to kind of come to terms with their past, except Tommy has dealt with one bad nephew before.
If you want to survive, you either a civilian or a gangster. There ain't no in between. Stay in your lane, all in or all out. If you get distracted, you did.
With D-Mac, Tommy definitely wants to keep him on the straight and narrow for as long as possible, and so we hear him warning him, if he's out on them corners hustling, he's gonna have to kill him himself, and don't test your Uncle Tommy. But I think we all know which road he's going down. He's seen it with Tariq St. Patrick, and D-Mac is just a ticking time bomb. There was no way he was going to be happy sitting at home making TikTok videos all day. He wants to be back out on the streets and hustling for the CBI, which is what he's going to do with a gun in his bag, with or without Tommy's permission. Now, this is one of the main differences between both of Tommy's nephews. D-Mac is someone who grew up in the street without his father. He had to fend for himself and hustle. On the other hand, Tariq chose this life but now finds himself grappling with the decision whether he wants to fully be committed to being a gangster or a civilian. There ain't no in between. Unfortunately, I do think we all know what comes next with D-Mac. He's gonna get himself into some hot bother with that gun, and then Uncle Tommy's gonna have to bail him out. What that means for his character going forward, he's gonna be thrown right into the game just like he wants. But will he have the same regrets like Tariq St. Patrick does? Let's wait and see. Moving to the other side of Chicago to the Flynns, we've got Claudia making a business move with Markovich. Now this is something I don't think anybody should be surprised with. Despite everything that Walter Flynn did in season 1, he still found himself with one last chance with Claudia. He gave her the opportunity to run point on the deal with Michael, but then he ripped it away, which was the end of their relationship. In episode 3, we also saw this cat and mouse game between both of them. But one thing we all know about Claudia is, she's ambitious and she's power hungry. Unfortunately, Markovich does know the Flynn organization are in tatters. And ironically, he's actually said something very similar to what I've been saying for Jenard's organization. Nobody boards a sinking ship. That's what the Flynn organization is at this moment in time. Their ship is about to hit a huge iceberg, and that iceberg is Dublin. Vic ruined the deal with Michael because he's destroying Walter Flynn's organization from the inside. But can Claudia salvage it, or is she making this move for herself? I definitely agree with Markovich. The Flynns are on their way out. I just don't see how they salvage their organization with the entire family on different pages. If they were singing from the same hymn sheet, then there was the smallest of possibilities that they could have saved their organization. But I really don't think they are. This is why I think Claudia is here making a business move of her own. But with what money and what resources? Because Walter Flynn did block all her access to her cards, just like a 16-year-old. So let's see what Claudia has up her sleeve, because we really can't underestimate her. Now, in terms of Walter Flynn himself, I do think his days are numbered. The deal he made with Michael was his last opportunity, which would have made things right with Dublin. But now that deal's dead, it's only a matter of time before Dublin come for Walter's head. Elsewhere, we've got Tommy in action, where it does seem like he's had to kill unexpectedly. This is also another classic mirror shot we are all too familiar with seeing across the Power universe. Now, the mirror is symbolic in different ways for every single character. It symbolizes changes, evolution, who they are and what they've had to do to survive. They may be a civilian to some in the real world of business, but when they come home, they have to face the reality. They're just drug-dealing murderers. Some characters have to come to terms with decisions that they're about to make that go against their beliefs. For Tommy Egan, he's no different to the character we saw in Power. He's a drug-dealing murderer who will do anything to survive, but he also wants power. He wants to run Chicago, and so what is he willing to risk to get to the top? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.